Good evening and welcome everyone to Slugs and Steins lectures from UC Santa Cruz. My name is Julia Doloff and I'm a member of the UCSC Alumni Council and one of your volunteer organizers for tonight. With me is David Hansen, a former member of the Alumni Council. For those of you who are new, our Slugs and Steins series engages a UCSC faculty member in discussion with all of you, our alumni, friends, and family. We want it to feel just like you're back at UC Santa Cruz, sitting in class, but with a drink in your hand and without an exam. Before we get started, and since we can't see you, we would like to know where you are all joining us from today. Please take a moment to fill out a short poll that will pop up on your screen. We will share the results after we've given everyone a moment to respond. So we will pause here for about 30 seconds to allow all of you time to respond and then see where you're all coming from. All right, thank you everyone who took the poll today. So we have a lot of folks just watching on your own. Thank you for doing that. And then we have a significant amount of folks joining from Santa Cruz and the Bay Area. So thank you everyone again for taking that poll and for joining us tonight. So tonight we will be tipping our steins with Dr. Joji Muramoto, an agroecologist and a UC Cooperative Extension organic production specialist at UC Agriculture and Natural Resources and the Center for Agroecology. Dr. Muramoto came to UCSC from Japan in 1996. Since then, he has been conducting research on fertility and soil-borne disease management in organic strawberries in coastal California. In 2019, he was hired as the first specialist in the UC system fully dedicated to organic production. This evening, Dr. Muramoto will discuss the status and challenges of organic agricultural production in California, including the importance of integrated soil health management. After the presentation, we will have a question and answer session. You can type your questions into the Q&A box at any time. If you see that someone else's question, if you see you like someone else's question, you may upvote it, and we will do our best to have that question asked sooner and answered sooner. So, all right, does everybody have their steins? Wonderful, I've got your slug, Dr. Joji Muramoto.
Thank you very much, Julia. Let me share my screen here. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Joji Muramoto. And first, I want to thank you, UCSC Alumni Council, for inviting me for this event. I'm very honored and pleased to be here. And thank you for joining today. I'm so happy to share the research I've been involved for the last 20 plus years at UC Santa Cruz. So first, a little bit my background. I finished all my degrees in Japan and came to UC Santa Cruz 1996 as a researcher. And since then, I've been studying fertility and soil-borne disease management in organic strawberry and vegetables. And I was, as introduced by Julia, I was hired as a first specialist fully dedicated to organic production in the UCNR system in 2019. And the picture here I took last Friday, the cherry blossom in front of McKinley Library. It's a very good season, and I'm so privileged to be here working on UC Santa Cruz for the last 8 years. So many of you might not be familiar with the UCNR. UCNR is the extension body of UC system, trying to use the power of UC research to improve the lives of all Californians. And we have more than 300 community educators, including 4-H clubs and master gardeners programs, and county-based farm advisors, and more than 100 specialists based traditionally on UC Davis, Berkeley, and Riverside campuses. But several years ago, UCNR started to expand other campuses as well. and I'm the first guinea pig at UC Santa Cruz. And but fortunately, we have a second UCNR specialist on our campus, Dr. Christel Leoto, started last December, and we're so happy to have Crystal with me on campus. My job description is very broad. Basically, everything about organic research and extension across the state, which is almost impossible just by myself. So what I've been doing is networking with researchers working on organic production in California and visiting organic growers in the top 20 organic counties in the state, and then conducting needs assessment of California organic growers with UCNR's California Organic Agriculture Organic Institute, and also private foundation, Organic Farming Research Foundation, based in Santa Cruz. And my goal is to making California organic agriculture and food system more sustainable through research, extension, and education. And some of you may know that our campus has organic farms, one of the oldest on-campus organic farms in the world. Alan Chadwick Certified Organic Garden started right after the campus opened, 1967. And also we have 25-acre certified organic farms, almost 50 years old. And it started as a part of hippie culture of the campus. Some of you may know that time. That's before me. But we used to have an apprenticeship program. We have more than 1,500 alumni for that program. But currently, we don't have that program. And farms are mainly managed by 80 paid students. And we actually came back to the original kind of approach of managing a farm here. And the survey showed that a lot of students on campus are actually food insecure. As you know, living costs in Santa Cruz is extremely high, one of the top in the nation. So many students skip the meals to save money, but that's not very healthy. And then so we decided to hire students, not only hire students to manage the organic fields, but to provide those organic vegetables to students for free. And then we have now one of the cafeteria, the vending machine, for free vending machine. Well, students just scan their ID card and get free organic vegetable salad. So one of our program, basic needs program, doing very good job of creating those kind of things. And the center's mission is advance agroecology and equitable food system through experiential education, participatory research, agriculture extension, and public service. So the outline of my talk, first, I'm going to give you an overview of organic strawberry production and organic agriculture in California and the United States. And secondly, the research I've been involved developing biological alternative for chemical fumigation of the soil, anaerobic soil disinfestation, in short ASD, for controlling soil-borne diseases in organic strawberries. And this is one of the big challenges to growing organic strawberries. So that's the second part of my talk. And then lastly, soil health general for plant health and one health. ASD is just one tool, and then trying to improve overall soil health for plant health and concept of plant health. Okay, so let's get started. So California strawberries. California produce 88% of U.S. fresh strawberry fruits, and more than 40,000 acres and year-round harvest. Santa Cruz here on this map, and Watsonville, Monterey County, and also Santa Barbara County, Santa Maria, and Ventura County has a lot of strawberries along the coast. Those are the main production area. So we can harvest those within those three areas. We can harvest strawberries year-round. And then we produced more than 1 million tons of strawberries annually, and the yield is 30 tons per acre, which is highest in the world. This high yield is partially supported by a technique called chemical fumigation. Chemical fumigation has been the core technology for strawberry production since 1960. The main fumigants used were methyl bromide and chlorpicrin. And then to control soil-borne disease and weeds and increase yield. This core technology has been this fumigation has been core technology of $2 billion industry supporting the large-scale, high-yielding monoculture strawberry production. But ozone methyl bromide, one of the main fumigants, turns out to be ozone layer depleter. And ozone layer, as you know, is the Earth's sunscreen, protecting people, plants, and animals from ultraviolet radiation, and then causing skin cancer. And skin cancer is the most common cancer in the United States. And then methyl bromide was added to Montreal Protocol in 1992. And after 11 years of critical use exemption, use of methyl bromide was phased out in 2016. In response, strawberry growers in California started to use other fumigants that is not ozone layer depleters, such as chlorpicrin or 1,3-D, dichloropropane. And those are not ozone layer depleter, but still toxic, especially 1,3-D is known as carcinogen. And these fumigants are unfortunately less effective compared to methyl bromide. The brown front area in the photo indicates dead strawberry plants by Fusarium wilt, one of the soil-borne diseases, regardless of chlorpicrin fumigation. And moreover, since 2003, California Department of Pesticide Regulation has documented hundreds of acute illnesses caused by accidental fumigant exposure to agricultural workers, as well as people living near fumigated fields. As a result, the regulation of fumigant is increasingly stringent, making future availability of fumigants uncertain. In terms of organic strawberry production, it started in late 1980s, in the middle of heydays of chemical-based strawberry production. At that time, nobody believed that organic strawberry production is possible. But Steve Gleasman, emeritus professor at the Environmental Studies Department of the campus, tried to prove that that can be done. And then happened to be a neighbor of him, Jim Cochran, the founder of Swantonberry Farm. They worked together and started the side-by-side comparison of organic and conventional strawberry production on-farm trial in 1987. After 3 years of experiment, they found that organic yield is about 80% of conventional, and with price premium, they found that with price premium, the organic production can be commercially viable. Since then, organic strawberry production acreage in California has been increasing. And as of 2023, 13%, a little bit over 5,000 acres of strawberry fields in California are certified organic. This is very increasing. But after 30 years, it took 30 years to get 13%. Not just strawberries, organic production and organic food sales, retail sales are constantly increasing since late 1990s. And then it exceeded $50 billion in 2020. And California is one of the largest organic producers in the country. 2021, California produced $3.6 billion of organic sales, organic produce sales, which represent 32% of the United States. Also currently, well, as of 2021, 4% of agricultural fees in California are certified organic. And the state of California is debating numerical goals of organic certified fields. Right now, tentatively, they are targeting 20% of all fields in California as certified organic by 2045. But increasing organic production came as a little bit of cost. There's some downside to it too. There are two main issues. One is U.S. organic standards kind of greenwashed and diluted as large corporate came into organic market. One example is allowing hydroponics in organic production. Soil is fundamentally important in organic production traditionally, but now hydroponic organic is allowed under USDA organic standard. This is only United States in the world, to my knowledge. And also another thing is organic standards, organic law supposed to respect animal welfare, but in practice, currently CAFO, concentrated animal feeding operation, like a feedlot, is allowed for organic production, livestock. And the hydroponic organic is spreading, not just lettuce, but also tomatoes, blueberries, peppers, cucumbers, and greens and herbs. And as I said, soil is so important and core of organic practices traditionally. Feed the soil, not the plant, is a holy mantra of organic gardening. And one of the pioneers of organic agriculture, Sir Albert Howard, wrote the book, The Soil and Health, Important Soils for the Health of Entire organic organisms. So there's a counter movement to that kind of trend. One of them is, it's called Real Organic Project, emphasizing increased soil fertility, so it has to be soil-based, promote biological diversity, rotate animals on pasture, improve the sustainability of farm system, and build community. This is a farmer-led movement and free certification. So it has to be organically certified, but they add after inspection, they add this free label. More than 1,000 farms been certified with label across the country. There's another example. It's called Regenerative Organic Certified by Rodale Institute, who's pioneered in organic agriculture in the United States. Again, they emphasize soil health, animal welfare, and social fairness. That the third point is very unique of this certification. This certification requires all farm workers be paid living wages, not the minimum wages. So it's social components in it too. This is a fee-based system, and then allies include Patagonia, Dr. Bloomers, and others. Now, there are so many kind of regenerative certification systems. The problem of regenerative system is there's no legal definition. So there's 9 I showed you here, but each one has different definitions and certification system. And including last two, real organic and regenerative organic, only 3 out of 11 requires organic as a baseline. The rest of 8 can be conventional to begin with. And some certification allows use of synthetic chemicals. So you got to be careful. There are so many different definitions out there. And sustainability is an important concept, and there are different definitions, but the common thing is 3 key pillars: ecologically sound, economically viable, and socially just. All 3 has to be fulfilled to be called sustainable. So sustainable agriculture has to have all 3 components. And to pursue that, we use agroecological approach. So we define agroecology is as an integrative study of entire food system, including production, not just food production, but entire food system, and then encompassing ecological, economic, and social dimensions. And we integrate science and research, technology and practices, indigenous knowledge, and movements for social change. So that's the center's name, the Center for Agroecology. Okay, this is the first part. Let's go back to organic strawberry. When I came to UC Santa Cruz, 1996, and later after that, the major challenge was how to deal with soil-borne diseases in organic strawberry production. The plants die like this. If once infested, plants like strawberry plants die like that. And the major pathogen at that time was the major disease was called Versium wilt, caused by Versium dahliae, fungal pathogen. This pathogen is very difficult to control because it can be hosted by more than 400 plant species, including lettuce, tomatoes, potatoes, cauliflower, artichokes, apple, cotton, strawberries, and some weeds. And strawberry is one of the most sensitive ones. On top of that, this pathogen can survive for several years without host plant in the soil. So to avoid this disease, it requires long rotation without host crop, which is very difficult. And no other tools were available at that time. In fact, we had outbreak of disease at our own UCSC organic farm in 2001 and 2002. All the strawberries are wiped out because of that pathogens, regardless of 7-year crop rotation. While we grow 40 or 50 different kinds of crop every year, so it's very difficult to avoid host crops like tomatoes and lettuce. So we ended up outbreak of this disease. We cannot fumigate because organic, we kind of stuck. But fortunately, researcher from Netherlands, Dr. Ariana van Bergen, came over to UC Santa Cruz. She's a very good friend of the then director of the center, Dr. Carol Shannon, and encouraged us to try newly developed method called biological soil disinfestation. It has also known as reductive soil disinfestation, and we renamed it as anaerobic soil disinfestation, ASD. It's kind of confusing, but we learned this same method, same principles method was developed independently in Japan as well. So we learned from both approaches and then trying to optimize for California conditions. And it worked in our organic farm. And we are the first one to try this approach in the United States. The principle of this approach is acid fermentation in anaerobic soil. I'm going to explain more in detail in a minute. So the principle is to integrate solidization. Solidization is the use of clear plastic and they heat up and cook the soil and kill the pathogen by heat. But in our area, summer is too cold, too mild, and we don't have enough heat. So solidization doesn't work. Or flooding, flooding is known that flooding can suppress pathogens, but either of them doesn't work in our area, but ASD integrate those two things for the place where either practice is not effective or feasible. Later, I'm going to talk about it, but now it's spread to California, berry fields, mainly organic, about 2,500 acres. And then research, not only in California, but many states in the United States and many developed and developing countries in the world for not only strawberries, but vegetables, greenhouses and open fields, and tree nuts and fruits and nurseries. ASD has 3 steps as to how to do it. First step is to incorporate organic material. even handful soil is full of life. Even handful soil has more number of organisms than entire human population. It's so crowded. It's so tiny, but so crowded, full of life. So we don't need to add microbes, but just feed them. Those microbes are usually carbon limited. So feed with carbon, easily decomposable carbon, such as rice bran or wheat bran, 6 to 9 tons per acre in coastal California, and feed them. That's the first step. Then cover with oxygen impermeable top to limit the gas exchange and oxygen supply. And then irrigation to irrigate to saturation. And maintain the fermentation process for 3 weeks. And then maintain above the field capacity moisture condition and create anaerobic conditions and stimulate anaerobic decomposition of incorporated organic material. Some picture shows the open field application in California and high tunnel application in Pennsylvania. The mechanism of ASD is like this. Temperature, water, and carbon source type and rate is important to define the strength of fermentation process. And then during the fermentation process, organic acids and volatiles and microbial community shift, and some toxic ions such as Fe2 plus and manganese 2 plus, all of different things suppress pathogens. So it has a multiple mechanism working together. There are 3 lethal main soil-borne pathogens in California strawberries: Bursium wilt and caused by Bursium dadiae that I mentioned. Also, a lot of 2 other things, a bit newer than those: Bursium charcoal rot by Macropomena fusarina, and Fusarium wilt by Fusarium oxysporum fragaria. And each pathogen has different sensitivity to ASD. So that's a little bit complicated part. Bursium dadiae can be controlled by regular autumn ASD. Strawberry planting takes place usually in California in the fall, like September, October, November. So before planting strawberries, we do ASD. That's a typical way of doing it. That's fine for Bursium. However, for 2 other pathogens, Macropomena and Fusarium, we have to do ASD in the summer. To control those pathogens, we need higher temperature, especially Fusarium wilt. If we do lower temperature, ASD can make disease worse. That's a tricky part of this approach. This is one successful case study for Macropomena. It's an organic field in Oxnard. So grower standard was like this far right picture. And then before starting experiments, grower told me that he'll be happy if he can increase yield by 30%. Well, we ended up double the yield. So he was very happy and increased the ASD acreage from 5 acres to 50 acres next year. But for Fusarium, it's very different. We gotta always give caution to growers. This picture shows UTC means untreated control. So this is a Fusarium infested field. So plants are dying if we don't do anything. And then, but if you ASD during the fall, it made things worse. Plants are dying more. But if you do ASD in summer, it works fine. So not just fermentation process, but the temperature is very important for make it work. We conducted replicated field trial, side-by-side comparison of untreated control, ASD, and fumigation at 10 different sites around the California coast for during 2010 to 2015. This is average relative yield of to the relative yield to fumigant. Fumigant is 100, and the ASD relative yield is 99, which is almost identical to fumigation, and untreated control at 81. Even if you add heavily infested Fusarium infested field, at 210 fields. Average goes down 95, but statistically still similar to fumigated field. So through this work, this kind of demonstration, growers are started to be really interested in adopting at the commercial scale. So this figure shows how organic strawberry acreage changes. I showed you this figure before in a different way, but this includes the acreage of organic strawberry with ASD or using rice bran. This acreage was estimated from the rice bran sales tonnage. So some growers use, or actually majority growers use, just rice bran as a kind of fertilizer. That's fine, if there's no disease, but that works too. So the using a rice bran approach or using rice bran based ASD really increased the organic strawberry acreage for the last 10 years. So ASD study, we started in 2002 with Versium field in UCSC and conducted comparative study with fumigant. And then right now, grower actually started to use at the commercial scale. And we still have lots of work to do. Main challenge is to develop how to control Fusarium macropina in a lower temperature. Study is still ongoing. Now, ASD is just one tool, and then it's not silver bullet. In fact, silver bullet approach is not necessarily good because if that one failed, everything fails. So we're trying to use multiple available approach in an integrated manner. So that's soil health based approach. So from here now, I'm talking about how soil health approach can improve overall plant health and beyond. So first definition, soil health being studied among soil scientists worldwide these days. And this is one of the well-accepted definition of soil health. Continued capacity of soil to function as a vital living ecosystem that sustains plants, animals, and humans. So let's go dive into it and focus in two keywords here. One is a vital living ecosystem, and second, its function. So let's start with vital living ecosystems. Soil is full of lives. As I said, handful of soil can have more organisms than entire human population, and one of the most diverse ecosystems on the Earth, based on DNA sequencing. So it's full of life. And the ecosystem and the ecology is a study about the relationship among organisms and between organisms and between them and all aspects, living, non-living, of their environments. So, and then soil ecosystem is a biological community of interacting organisms and their environment in soil. So soil health is really focusing on, look at soil through organism lens. Soil has a physical component and chemical characters and biological characters, but so ecosystem view look through the organismal lenses. So habitats for microorganisms and how tillage and structure affect, organisms and microbial activity and diversity versus soil chemical characteristics, and then how soil organisms interact each other, and how soil microorganisms interact with plant roots. That's a very important part related to soil health and plant health. The second keyword is function. Soil has a lot of functions. First of all, from left column, soil has different functional groups. decomposers and nutrient transformers, ecosystem engineers and biocontrollers. Those different biota has different functions: carbon transformation, nutrient cycling, soil structure maintenance, and biological population regulations. And those functions provide ecosystem services like food fiber production, water quality supply, erosion control, and so forth. So the definition of health is, according to OECD, soundness of body, the condition in which its function are duly and efficiently discharged. So healthy soil means those functions are efficiently, provided. That's the healthy soil. Now, soil scientists are trying to come up with the way to measure soil health. And this is one example. Soil Health Institute researchers studied trying to come up with minimum suite of effective indicators of soil health for North America, using soils from 124 long-term field trials in North America, and came up with 4 items: soil organic carbon content and carbon mineralization potential, aggregate stability, and predicted available water holding capacity. But even if we measure those 4 things and evaluate health of the soil without measuring soil-borne pathogens, this measurement can be very misleading, because even healthy soil defined by those 4 indicators, plants can die by soil-borne pathogens. So there's a big knowledge gap between soil health study by soil scientists and plant health study by plant pathologists. So we're trying to fill this gap by proposing a framework called Integrated Soil Health Management. And we published a paper 2 years ago, in which, so the concept, Integrated Soil Health Management, have 4 components. And the one component, and the pink part, is comprehensive soil health diagnostic system, including those, soil health indicators developed by soil scientists, but combined with molecular-based biological tests for soil-borne pathogens, and in the future, probably, beneficial microbes and the soil microbial community and diversity, keystone species for soil suppressiveness. Those things are, very actively researched area right now, but we don't have very good standards just yet. But probably in maybe next 5-10 years, I think we can have those indicators as well. So those comprehensive soil health diagnostic system are one component. And another one important thing is farmers' knowledge, farmers' location-specific knowledge based on their daily observations using 5 senses. Those knowledge is so important. So science and different kind of knowledge. In agroecology, we respect different kinds of knowledge creation system, not just scientific knowledge, but farmers, those experiential knowledge is so important, and indigenous knowledge as well. And the third component is soil health management practice, suite of soil health management practices, such as crop rotation, cover cropping, intercropping, and so forth. And ASDs can be a part of it. That things that known to improve soil health. And the last component is decision support tool that helps farmers to interpret the diagnostic result and to help develop site-specific soil health management strategies. And those approaches the character is location-specific and knowledge-intensive, which is in contrast to fumigation approach, that is location general and chemical intensive. But this kind of approach might be difficult to adopt for many growers because it needs a lot of learning processes, to understand to use the IPM approach. Farmers need to know not only pests but also beneficial insects and microbes and so forth. Lots of learning process is involved. So extension approach might need to be changed too, from top-down traditional approach to more like farmer-to-farmer network approach, like a social learning approach. And then while we are preparing this paper, we learned a kind of very interesting concept of One Health. And then Nietzsche said that used the term One Health back in old days, but in the current context, what the term One Health was developed by veterinarian animal medical researchers and human medical researchers when bird flu took place around 2000. They realized that we need to work together. So animal health and human health is related. So that's the beginning of the One Health concept. And UC Davis has a One Health Institute at vet school. And then the CDC, everybody knows CDC these days, also has, One Health website. But 2016, researchers realized those One Health concept is really has an overlap with soil stewardship concept and soil health concept. And Dr. Van Bruggen, who introduced us the ASD to introduce us ASD back in 2000, she wrote a very important paper about One Health. And then she came up with the idea of microbial cycling, which is very interesting. You might have heard of nutrient cycling and material cycling, but microbial cycling is kind of a new concept. Microbes are recycling throughout our system, living organisms and soil, water. And more research to study shows how important soil microbes are to One Health. And then soils are a cornerstone of One Health, and the microorganisms are conduit of One Health component, and soil microbes are as a microbiome reservoir. And then the paper listed more than 40 soil microbiome functions that either directly or indirectly contribute to soil, plant, animal, and human health. And they also said soil, plant, and human microbiomes are perhaps more interconnected than previously thought. So we included how ISHM are connected to One Health in our paper as well. This is the last slide. So last year, CDFA, California Department of Food and Agriculture, and DPR, California Department of Pesticide Regulation, and Cal EPA, California Environmental Protection Agency, together published a roadmap to sustainable pest management, in which they target to do this. By 2050, California has eliminated the use of priority pesticides by transitioning to sustainable pest management practices. They don't define what priority pesticides are just yet. They're going to decide it depends on alternatives and availability of alternatives and so forth. But I'm not believe by 2050, but for the next 20 plus years, it's going to be very important to study alternative for fumigant. And fumigants most likely are included in priority pesticides because of the huge amount and the toxicity. So if you for the next 2 decades or so, this area of research is very, very important. With that, I'd like to thank my mentors, teachers, and friends, emeritus professors, Steve Grisman and Carol Shannon, and also many collaborators and more than 150 undergraduate students who helped me conduct this kind of research, and research professors at Environmental Studies Department and collaborators, UCNR and beyond, and a lot of local farmers helped me conduct those kind of researches. And funding from national and states and private foundation, highly appreciated. With that, thank you very much. And if you are interested in contributing to Center for Agroecology, this is a link, and I'm gonna put this link to a chat later. So we really appreciate your contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joji. Most interesting. I had no idea about the importance of soil to that extent. So we have Jackie with a question. Before we take that question, though, a reminder, please enter your questions in the Q&A box and upvote them. If you see others that have come in, please upvote them. We have one from Jackie. You mentioned that hydroponics can be classified as organic in the US, but not elsewhere. But why, but you haven't mentioned why it shouldn't be. What are the issues with hydroponics?
Yeah, so as I explained it briefly, traditional organic farming really emphasized that soil health, and then feed the soil, not the plant, is a mantra of organic farming. So it's really against the traditional organic philosophy. So that's the core things. And most of the world organic people respect that, approach. But now, United States, a lot of industry interested in more profit than traditional and organic philosophy, and then change the rule. And now it's allowed. So some people are resistant.
Thank you. So Van asks or mentions that a large portion of crop yield ends up wasted either on the field, on the farm, or through the distribution process. So do farmers use that knowledge of the farm waste, the food that doesn't leave the farm? Do they factor that into their farming? Does that affect the efficiency of things that are produced on the field? How is that kind of factored in?
So maybe the question is about the production waste on the farm scale.
Yes.
Okay. The two things, some produce, like let's say, example, broccoli, edible part is only 20%. 80% leaves and stems are non-edible. So those residues goes back to the field, right? But that question, people are probably asking about the edible part. Sometimes, edible part not being harvested, various reasons, but sometimes a price is too low to harvest, actually. Farmers cannot make money, they don't, price is too low. When price is too low, they cannot even worth spending labor to harvest. It happens. So in that case, just leave, they don't even touch it and incorporate it. So it's a lot of things, factors, economics mainly affect that kind of decision.
So Helly asks, what resources do you recommend for home gardeners to learn about their soil?
Yeah, well, yeah, many different approaches, and Center for Agroecology has a fantastic resources on the website for home gardeners. Compost, depends on what kind of crops that you grow. But basically, trying to improve the soil health, that's a foundation. So compost and organic fertilizer, cover crop combination. Yeah. For details, yeah, please look at the Center for Agroecology website. There's a lot of resources available out there.
And if I could build on that, are there ways of testing soil components also
Yes.
at the home level?
Yes. Soil testing lab is there are many commercial soil testing lab across the state. And then you can send a sample to them, and then they do just basic chemical analysis, pH and nutrient content and so forth. But that is also important, so that's a kind of start point. And then you really want to track soil organic matter content. That's a key component for healthy soil. So if you track the soil organic matter content and that increasing, that's a good sign.
Thank you. So Jack asks, will it ever be possible to reduce the amount of plastic that is used in strawberry production?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And then it's very important question. So that's a huge issue. As you know, the microplastic is a huge issue in ocean and probably in our body already. And we don't know what they're doing it. So trying to use the plastic use, there are two things going on. One is to recycle it. Trying to, role of plastic mulch is to keep the soil moisture and also adjust soil temperature and suppress weeds and also protect fruit from rotting. So it has a multiple roles. So I think strawberry growers going to keep using plastic or similar things in the future too. But one thing, so the two things. One is to some companies started to recycle used plastic. And then another thing is a lot of research is ongoing about the biodegradable plastic. And the challenge is, strawberries annual production. So the plastic has to hold whole year, which is challenging. Also has to be decomposable after, incorporated in the soil quickly, which is kind of two different things, right? One way, in one side, you want to keep it, and then another side, you want to decompose it. So the balance is, kind of tricky, and we don't have a perfect product just yet, but research is ongoing.
Stuart wants to take you to outer space, and he says there's complexity and diversity in mind. How can we assure that a farm in space or installer spaceship can function with similar stability, efficiency, and capacity as it would on Earth? And then side question, should there be a wipeout? How might one rehabilitate such a farm?
Wow. So that's I need someone from astrophysics department to help me out. Yeah, I don't know how can we do in the outer space, but yeah. I know a little bit about soil. Yeah, that's about known things, but there was a movie, right? What's called, there's a movie using like growing plants in the Mars or something. Did you watch that? Using human feces or something. But anyway, soil is very unique thing, and in terms of agriculture on the earth, that's the foundation, I believe. So I don't know if you can transfer soils and still, living system maintain over the space, that might be possible, but sorry, I cannot answer that question.
Okay, maybe you can get together with the physics department and
Yeah, right.
to Elon Musk or NASA for a new project.
True. Yeah.
Something for us all to ponder. So someone asks whether you leveraged IoT technologies for research for measuring temperature and humidity.
IoT, what is that?
I have no idea. So if the person who asked that question wants to clarify, feel free. Otherwise, we'll move on to another question while that person clarifies. So how much does it cost to treat a field with ASD as opposed to fumigation? And then a side question, does the state, like CDFW, offer any incentive programs, grants, subsidies for farmers to kind of make this switch?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And the first question, cost. Depends on the typical practice is use rice bran 6 to 9 tons per acre, which is the main cost of ASD. And it's costs about like a $3,000 per acre or something. So it is not cheap. And then rice bran is getting more and more expensive. So recently we published the paper using wheat bran, wheat meat, which is cheaper than rice bran. So that can be used, which can be like a $2,500 or something. And there are two ways of fumigation. Fumigations, bed fumigation and flat fumigation. Flat fumigation is the fumigation applied to the flat ground before listing beds. That costs like $5,000 per acre. So it's way more expensive than ASD. But bed fumigation is like $2,000, so a little cheaper than ASD. And the second question was, what was it?
IoT?
Does the state offer any? Oh, yeah.
Oh,
go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, state subsidies. Right now, there's a $300 million transitional grant, not grant, transitional money nationwide, transition to organic. So there is a mechanism to subsidize traditional cost from conventional to organic. So that's just started. So yeah, if you're interested in contact CCOF, California Certified Organic Farmers, they are kind of the center of this program.
So IoT is Internet of Things. So these sensors placed out in the field, I presume, or?
Okay, yeah, thanks. Well, sensors are very important, even for ASD. We use sensors all the time to monitor how strong the anaerobic condition is. It's called ORP sensors, oxidation reduction potential sensors. That's very important. And then we really want to have wireless sensors. So far, wireless sensor is too expensive to use for even for research. So I use a lot of wired, traditional sensors, which is very, cable tangles and it's very manage intensive. So I think sensor is going to be very important in the future. Well, it has to be very affordable for farmers and then accurate. And those sensors are going to be very important, I believe.
So we have a question asking you, what is the most exciting new project that you or others are currently working on with regards to integrated soil health management?
Yeah, the concept itself has a lot of components, and then the concept itself was developed based on our collective experiences working on non-fumigant systems. So we're trying to make a framework for the future next 10, 20 years. Using this framework, we need to work on each component, diagnostic part, and also practice part like ASD, and also decision support tools, and working with farmers. So each component has a lot to do. But I have more, maybe 4 or 5 years until retirement. So I'm trying to do my best, and then trying to something that are important. Trying to make a foundation for the next generations. So I cannot tell one just exciting project at this point, but yeah, I'm kind of wrapping up stage of my career. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Sounds like you're paving the way for future agroecologists to carry on your work.
There we go.
So we have a couple who really wanted to thank you for your lecture and also your amazing research. Adam goes further. He wants to hear comments about relevance of the inductiveness of early UC farmer methods, so French intensive biodynamic, and also the work of Masanobu Fukuoka,
Right.
the do nothing method. and
Right.
soil work? Are these useful?
Wow. That's a great question. Well, French intensive methods has been used and is still used at the Alan Chadwick Garden, one of our gardens on campus. So it's still practiced and it's working. So no question about it. And the Fukuoka method, wow. Steve Griezmann and other agroecologists and myself visited his farm in Ehime, Japan, back in 1998 or something. We had a Japan US agroecology workshop in Ehime, and yeah, his approach is well, it says do nothing, but actually lots of details and caveats in it. Yeah, it's very knowledge intensive actually. You have to read the topography and soil type and so forth. So it not just it's not just no do nothing actually. You have to know many things to do that kind of farming. So but using natural system ecosystem as much as possible. So the principle of ecology, principle of natural system, trying to use that to to maximize it and reduce the external input. That's the way natural farming can be accomplished. But it's really, really, you have to know the place and you have to study a lot to make it happen. That's my interpretation.
Mhm.
Thank you. Are there issues with forever chemicals in strawberry fields or with systemic chemicals such as neonicotinoids?
Neonicotinoid, yeah. Yeah, forever chemicals like PLFS, I think, like part of the coating material, right? Silicone coating. Yeah, those are very important things. And I'm not sure how much soils in California have been tested for that. And then some states like Maine did a lot of research and found a lot of contamination. So, you know, I think California needs to do more, I think, for that kind of chemicals soil survey. When I'm not, I don't know much about the situation. Um, I need to study more. Yeah.
Okay. So Vanny asks about the profitability of strawberries compared with other crops. How does it stand up, both in traditional, I'd say, and in organic? And a paired question to that, maybe the $300 you talked about of state transition subsidy. How much will that help in moving it? Is that a lot or a little?
Oh, 300 million. Yeah. Transition. Well, that's a first of its kind in terms of subsidy. So hopefully that helps transition from conventional to organic. We don't know yet. We just started. So, and then in terms of sales of strawberries. Well, strawberries, generally speaking, strawberry growers can make more money than vegetable growers per acre basis, per same acreage basis. You know, of course, vegetable growers, harvest only once per year, right? But strawberry harvest like 50 times, right? So from the same crop. So, and then, 6 months of harvest, right? It makes more money for sure, but it costs a lot too. So, but yeah, berry growers usually makes more money per acre basis than vegetable growers for sure. That's why strawberry growers acreage is rather smaller than vegetable growers. Vegetable growers has to have many acreage to make living. If that's vegetable specific growers, but that's that's generally speaking true, but for small scale growers, the typical strategy is to grow diversified crops, right? Many different crops, and then sales their produce directly to consumers without middleman. That way, farmers market, CSA, and so forth. In that way, they can get more money, income um, directly from the sales because there's no middleman. So different way of strategies. Yeah.
Okay. And from your impression, your feel is, do the purely organic farmers do as well, profitability wise, as the traditional, or are they suffering a tad?
I don't know, how much money you need, right? That's kind of, uh, depends on, how much money you satisfy. So depends on the goal and the lifestyle, I guess. So, but number of organic farmers is increasing in California. We have 3,000 and increasing. So that means I think organic growers is making money, generally speaking, and sales are increasing.
Thank you.
Well,
Another question we have is, what role do earthworms play in soil health?
Wow, that's a very good question. And earthworms has so many functions. First, there are two kinds of earthworms: surface living and vertical living. And then surface living earthworm is just stay on the surface level, but eat soil and then excrete soil with some nutrients and produce a good aggregate. So while they are eating soils and excreting, they make more soil organic rich material and much more fertile. So that's increase make the tunnels and then it's structures and then also provide nutrients. And then surface living earthworms make structure on the surface, but vertical moving earthworms make very important earthworm physical holes that can facilitate the water infiltration. That's a very important character of the field soil.
okay, Tuan asks, what's the role of technology in helping push sustainable agroecology? And what do you foresee as the biggest challenges ahead in the technology space? Another question had mentioned AI, if that's going to also be of any. So
Yeah.
two different focus, AI in particular, but technology broadly.
Yeah, that's a very important question, and the UCSC trying to start the ag tech initiative, and then lots of ag tech project ongoing across the country, right? And UC Davis has big ag tech, and then UC Merced has ag tech, like almost department. So, but the UCSC's unique part of it, we don't have ag department, but agroecology that's a small part of environmental studies within social science division, right? So well, social justice is very important, and the strength of UCSC, unique part of UCSC approach. So even for technology, we believe that has to be kind of equity issue is very important. For example, $1 million, laser weeder. Who can use that kind of machine, right? Only large scale growers can afford to do it. But how about the technology for small scale growers? And that's also important. How to ease the strawberry harvest work. And then how to protect farm worker from the heat during the summer. That kind of thing. Technology can be used to that kind of important protecting farm workers issues. So I think there's lots of rooms to use farm technologies, but intention And then equity focus is very important when you apply technology. And then that's, I think, a very unique part of UCSC's AgTech thinking. And also IT, same thing, the other day, there's an IT professor on campus, and then she contacted me and brought the project about using IT for organic farming. How can we do that? And she has no background for agriculture whatsoever, but she's the professional of IT, and then that's a very important things, and I think we can use it. But again, it has to be in a equitable and socially just way. So we haven't started yet, but I think we should be able to use IT for make farming sustainable, not just profitable, but sustainable.
Okay, well, maybe we can look forward to yet another lecture in a few years, coming from
Right.
the agrotech aspect also.
Right.
Wonderful. Well, with that, I think we're through many questions, and I'd like everyone to please join me in thanking Dr. Muramoto. Thank you, Joji, for sharing your fascinating work with us this evening. A reminder, and it's down in the chat box, you can contribute to the work of this fine center by following the link there. I also want to send thanks to the staff of Alumni Relations and the Special Events Offices who organized this webinar. Also thanks to several other of our alumni volunteers who helped co-organize this series. Now we want you back. Our next Slugs and Steins talk will be on Monday evening, May 13th, and will feature David Letterman, a professor of physics and director of UCSC's Materials Science and Engineering Initiative. Professor Lederman will address the topic Quantum Materials for Electronics of the Future. He will highlight how increasing speed of electronic devices are pushing the theoretical limits of performance. He'll discuss quantum mechanic properties of materials, which result in unexpected and potentially useful properties, particularly in the context of research performed at UCSC and by its student teams. Now, we had Professor Lederman for a talk earlier, and trust me, even if you're a poet or a social science major like myself, you're going to enjoy this talk. He explains it very well, so join us. But meanwhile, UCSC has other exciting events awaiting, and you can find more information about these at calendar.ucsc.edu. First up, the Alumni Weekend is happening this next weekend, and it'll include lectures, presentations, meetings, and conferences. Has a particular focus on alumni classes from 1974 and before. Then on April 17th at the Rio Theater in Santa Cruz, it'll host the 2024 Mandel Lecture. And it will be The Last Stargazers, True Stories and Adventures of Astronomy. So the Mandel Lecture promotes public awareness and appreciation for astronomy. This year's public lecture will feature Emily Levesque as the speaker, whose research explains how the largest and weirdest stars in the universe evolve and die. Now, the evening before, you get a very different experience if you go to the UCSC's Quarry for the 57th annual Faculty Research Lecture. And that will feature poetry with Professor Gina Athena Olissa and an improv dance by Linda Isabel Francois Obas. So on behalf of the UCSC Alumni Association, thank you for joining us. Please come back on May 13th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. for our next virtual event. Again, thank you.
Thank you very much.